Red Noise Baltship project. And I think without further ado, I will give voice to Andrea to give like a brief introduction on the project itself.
Yes, thank you, Nikolai. And just since Anda is joining a bit later, just so you know, the agenda was changed a bit. So we have her in the end of our first part of the project partner, but that's the only change in the agenda. So I hope that's okay for everyone. And I will just share my, well, now you saw that Federica has started recording as well. So if that's good, okay for everyone, then we will continue. And I can share my presentation. Just give me a second. So I hope you see full screen and not notes.
No, it's good.
Yes,
Okay.
you can see everything.
Good, thank you. Yes, so I just wanted to, well, briefly introduce the project. I don't think we have many external people now, but at least for you, Torbjörn, to get some, you got last week some information, but just wanted to like give a general information about the project and also kind of an overview of what we have done on the CCB side, and also some lessons learned. So, well, as I think I should go first here. Yes. So, as you know, this is a project funded by the Swedish Institute, and this is a cooperation project. So it's one of their kind of bigger projects under the Baltic Sea Neighborhood Program. The project started in August 2023, and it's finishing now in December of 2024. And the project partners are from the different countries that we are present now. So CCB on the Swedish side and FishSec as well on the Swedish side. Latvian Institute for Aquatic Ecology on the Latvian side, Friends of the Earth Germany, BUND in Germany, and then Foundation for Development of the University of Gdansk in Poland. So then thank you as well, FRUG, for co-organizing this final event with us. And I just wanted to give you some information about the reporting period, because since the project is finalizing, the official deadline for the reporting is the 3rd of March. And we have the auditing on CCB side. So I kind of wanted to set an internal deadline for us for the financial report, mainly because this is the most important for us to start the auditing process. And I suggest that is the 31st of January of 2025, so we can have the financial report. And then the deadline for project partners on the narrative report is suggested for the 14th of February 2025. For now, I have the information that is based on the budget templates and also on the application templates. However, I will have communication with Swedish Institute tomorrow. In case you have any additional questions, I can bring them with me tomorrow. So if you want, you can write to me today, and I will bring those to them. So following the aim of the project partner, which was to enhance visibility and connect the region to reduce underwater noise from commercial and recreational shipping activities in the Baltic Sea, we had 4 work packages. So one was the project management and dissemination. We also had policy advocacy, public awareness raising and communication, as well as educational materials and activities. And you can see who was involved in what. And I was actually putting together the events that CCB was kind of organizing and this or taking part in, and it was quite a good number, I would say. So it was many events, some like kickoff meeting or implementations meetings, which were like internal events, but we were also organizing or co-organizing some events, for example, with Helcom on the workshop on recreational crafts in Palanga last year. And we were also part of the USVSR policy area SHIP on the operational group, where we gave some inputs on the Red Noise topic and kind of tried to push the topic into their annual plan that they are developing or updating this year and next year. We also had the project in that kind of in the village, networking village in the USVSR annual forum in Visby. And we co-organized other events with project partners, such as the FISH webinar and now the final conference. And last week, we also had the online workshop on recreational crafts for kind of starting or kicking off the work for clean boating guidelines. So these are kind of this is the summary of the events that we had on, or that we took part in the CCB side. And here are some nice pictures, and I hope we can take a picture for our final conference today. And this, I just wanted, I know Aliki will mention a bit more on the webinar, but there's also some nice numbers about the webinar of continuous underwater noise on fish, which we had in November this year. I also wanted to bring a bit of the lessons learned. I think offline events were very good, and like it was where we got the most from the project, I would say. So in looking in retrospective, I think more exchange was needed on that way, because we only had like one offline event. So I think this would have been nice to like meet a bit more, but well, it was the nature of the project as well. It's a small project, but I think when we met in Gdansk, that was really good to kind of allow more communication and exchange of information among project partners. And that kind of led, some of the events that we had also led us to increase the knowledge of what's happening in different areas, and also get to know other people working with the topic, which, for example, are going to be taking part in this meeting today. So that's really nice, and it also allows for future application of other projects or the continuation. And that's also kind of the lesson learned, that continuation is needed, and we need more practical actions, and also keep the contacts of what we have done already with the Red Noise Baltship project. So that's kind of my takes from the whole project, and just wanted to thank you for the whole year, or 17 months that we have been working together. So that's kind of everything from my side.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Are there any questions related to the presentation by CCB? If not, then we can move to second part, which is the results and lessons learned during the duration of the Red Noise Baltship project. And we'll just hear an overview of all the activities undertaken by different project partners, and we'll start with Friends of the Year of Germany BUND, and I will give floor to Bettina Taylor to present results of the information commercial shipping in Germany, policy advocacy and national efforts. For each presentation, we have roughly 15 minutes, but it would be wise to keep it shorter to 10 minutes span, and then leave some time for questions. Okay.
Thanks.
So please, Bettina.
Can you see the full screen or the?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, so I'll try. I think I'll be under 15 minutes, but we'll see, to show you a bit what we did in work package 2 in the networking and advocacy part. Hold on. Next. Is it doing something? There we are. So one of the big things that I already presented at our meeting in Gdansk is that a German roundtable was established at the end of 2023. So more or less when this project started, we had already sort of done the pre-work on that before the Red Noise project actually started, together with the BSH, which is the a federal authority under the Federal Ministry for or digital, I think that's weird, but yeah, it's sort of digital things and transport. I think I translated that wrong, but it's the Ministry for Transport that is important, and under this is an agency that is responsible for the commercial shipping. And the good thing is that through our long-term work as CCB in the HELCOM context, we got contact to Susanne Heidmüller, who chairs the maritime group in HELCOM, and she works at BSH. And with her, we started this roundtable where we, as BUND, so as an environmental NGO, but also 2 other groups of the shipping sector are coordinators. And that is our cooperation partners, I think we're called. And that is really quite helpful because the main agency inviting is sort of from the more conservative part, I would say, and from those that the shipping sector also trusts more than if it was something that we had initiated, but we're strongly involved in organizing the meetings and also in writing the agendas and inviting people. We've had 2 meetings since then. So one was last year in November, and then one was in September this year. We've had an intersessional meeting in between. And through that intersessional meeting, we also founded a subgroup that mainly works on incentives. So, for example, what could harbors do as incentives for ships to go slower or to be quieter? What could be incentives from the government and so on. So that's a small group that we have established. I think the first meeting was in October, I think. Where so far we have a few of the German harbors, but also some shipping industry in. We haven't managed to get the German governmental agencies in there, so we're still working on that. But yeah, I think at least nationally, this was really sort of the biggest challenge, but also a good thing, even though I think it was the next slide or one of the next ones Andrea had written, please put in the results. And I still find in the advocacy part, find it very difficult to really talk about concrete results because it's still very slow moving. So yeah, this is the one with results. And as you can see, I mean, basically the results, the roundtable meetings, they are also meetings. There's a national technical group on underwater noise under the MSFD that technically, we as NGOs are now allowed in. It used to be a closed shop group, and they started opening these groups for NGOs last year, but then there was never a meeting. Then there was one meeting that was, I think, at the same time as we all met in Gdansk, so I couldn't go. And now there was actually another online meeting that was last week where I managed to go. But it's also, yeah, a group that talks a lot and doesn't really do actions, but we'll see what happens with that. I think what is really working well is the eNGO networking on underwater noise that includes several levels. So we have a good networking under CCB in the Baltic. We also have a network that spans all the EU member state, and we even are part of a more international network that works mainly at IMO level, which is especially for me very interesting because a lot of the commercial shipping, when you start talking about that, most of the input you get is like, we can't do that nationally. It needs to go via IMO, and that's really too difficult. But to have the info on what is happening at IMO, which is at the moment quite a lot on the topic of underwater noise, is very helpful. I have not been able to go there myself. Also, BUND is not, we're not allowed in the IMO. You need to be an international organization. But we have been following that through the other NGOs. I've also taken part in HELCOM and OSPA expert groups. I would say that is the closest we are getting to what you would maybe call results. We're really, especially in the HELCOM expert group, strongly working on what could be the indicators, what are the noise levels, what is the level of onset of adverse biological effects, all these very concrete topics that we will need to assess underwater noise in the future. So I think especially the HELCOM group is going there, but again, it's still a very slow process. There's also a big Interreg project called DMASK, where I'm in the Stakeholder Advisory Council. That is a project where I have big hopes on, but it goes on another 2 years until we'll get results. But hopefully that will give us quite a few answers that we can use maybe in following projects that will work together. And yeah, we gave some support on the webinar on underwater noise and fish from the input I had within the HELCOM group and my other work, but that is something that Aliki will present. The challenges, I've already said quite a few while I'm talking. Progress is slow. You need to really have a lot of patience, which is not generally my strong suit, but I try. I still feel that we're a lot in the phase of talking and not acting. So that sometimes feels a bit, especially in the terms of what do we want in results, a bit difficult. But what I found is that there is more and more general openness towards the topic, even within the shipping industry. So when I started working on underwater noise, like some 5 or 6 years ago, you could often hear, but that's not a problem. So underwater noise from explosions, yeah, that's a problem. But from shipping, no, it's not. And I feel that this has changed in these last years, and also especially in the last year of this project. So that's maybe positive, but there's still not really an urge to do action. So as the last slide, the lessons learned, I would say it's a topic, as many topics, I guess, but it's really important to involve all the stakeholders, also those where we feel it's difficult and slow moving and they're not maybe our best friends. But if we don't involve them, nothing will happen. It's such a big industry. We have to actually talk to the stakeholders, to the ship owners, to the captains, to the crews, to the big companies. Otherwise, it will not work. It's still a very slow process. I already said that, and but I already also stated that last time. I think underwater noise is now recognized as a problem, and that's something that helps us in the advocacy work. Thank you.
So, are there any questions related to the presentation delivered? No questions. Then we can, I suppose, move to the Fisheries Secretariat. Yeah. So I suppose it's Aliki that will present the results and lesson learned, the commercial shipping and recreational boating impacts on fish, current knowledge and gaps.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
please.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Great, perfect. Okay, so hello everyone. I want to talk to you a little bit about FishSec's actions under the Red Noise Baltship project. As you already heard, our main thing was to the awareness raising on impact on fish, and our main purpose was to organize this webinar. And in order to do that, we collaborated with Coalition Clean Baltic. We co-organized the agenda and the keynote speakers, amongst who were 4 researchers, and I will tell you a little bit about them and some of the topics that were discussed. So we had Anna-Sara Krang from IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute, with us, who discussed how shipping and recreational boats disrupt essential behaviors in fish and invertebrates. Then we also had Okko Wittinen from Finnish Environmental Institute, who explained more on how moderately frequent boat noise impairs the early development of zebrafish. Then Karen de Jong from the Institute of Marine Research in Norway, who emphasized the effects of noise on cod communication and reproduction. And we finished off with Nina Moore from the Institute of Terrestrial and Aquatic Wildlife Research, and she assessed the impacts of vessel slowdowns on common roads and sand goby. From our side, we also invited many Swedish partners. We sent out many invitations and save the dates in Swedish. So we try to have even more partners from Sweden, because Coalition Clean Baltic also had helped a lot with raising awareness on the webinar and gathering as many people as possible. As you already heard, I was the one who moderated the event, but Bettina was also there, and she was actually super helpful because she was the panel coordinator. And now the webinar is available on CCB's website, and from FishSec side, we will also want to have it online, and it will soon be available also in our website. So a little bit about the results. The webinar was aiming to bring together a broader audience with registered participants from many different backgrounds. We had anglers and fishermen, and then also NGOs and scientists. So we tried to have a broad participation there. As initially we had more than 90 registrations, which was very, very nice, and we were all very happy about it. And during the webinar, I think we had more than 75 present. So I think these were good numbers. And in general, I can say that we had a very, very nice interaction with the audience. Many people participating during the Q&As. That we had, of course, after each presentation. And then we also had pre-submitted questions, which we used during the panel discussion for our experts. And then we also had a lot of participation from the audience when they were putting in some of their questions. So that was very, very positive to see. A little bit more on the challenges. So firstly, we saw that there are data limitations. There is uncertainty about which species suffer most from noise. We need more research there. And it's also an important question that came up also during the webinar, during the panel discussion, is should we focus on the more noise sensitive species in the Baltic Sea, or maybe the ones who have the most data? And some of our experts suggested to focus more on species with greater ecosystem impact, for example, cod, and then further on progress with data for the rest of the species. Another challenge, we have legal restrictions, of course. During the joint discussion, it was highlighted that underwater noise is also a legal question requiring more designated areas with restrictions. As currently most restrictions are related to safety, and a broader focus on ecological protection is needed. Also regarding precaution and adaptation, it was found to be a challenge, as the importance of site-specific measures is a great risk to transfer strategies, to take strategies and apply them from one region to another. It's not as concrete, and it was stressed also from the experts that precaution is needed to ensure that the measures suit its specific area, and of course its species in every area. Lastly, regarding vessels, the measures that vessels could take, like when a nation decides to make their ships more silent, either through technological or operational means. There are ways, but it can be tricky for older vessels sometimes. They don't always have the option to be quieter, and it was emphasized that engaging recreational boaters and increase the understanding on the issue and adopt some measures is also very, very important for them. Regarding the lessons learned, I will briefly summarize what I also said before. It's part of the challenges. Well, the expert focused on certain suggestions. We firstly talked about no entry zones and noise limitations for recreational vessels. while also focusing on slower boats in general. Of course, we need to identify first the priority areas. And no enter zones is a measure that it was broadly discussed and looks like it's a very important thing to apply to specific areas depending on the species again. The last thing though that was also stressed during the webinar, and I think is something that we need to mention, and Bettina was there to raise this, is that when we talk about underwater noise as an issue, it's sometimes a nice problem because you can switch it off, and that comes as the biggest difference with other issues, for example, climate change or any other issue that we might encounter. When noise comes, you can just switch it off and then it disappears. And I think that was a very nice thing that was stressed during the webinar, that we can take measures, and once we adopt them, it's quite nice that we can literally make the problem go away. I think that's all for me for now. And I'm open to any questions, of course.
So thank you, Aliki. I regret I didn't have a chance to see the webinar. So what species do you think is most vulnerable to the underwater noise in the Baltic region? Are there any candidates?
Well, during the webinar, we talked about the zebrafish, and then it was also, I think it was Oko who, yes, I think it was Oko who was talking about the zebrafish, and they have done a lot of experiments on these species specifically, so we know it's affected. But then it was also stressed that this was done in not in their natural environment, so it was lab experiments that were done on zebrafish. I think that is, and then of course we had the common roads and the sand goby that we heard from Nina, that it basically affects their breeding processes.
Okay, so are there any further questions related to the topic? Yes, Bettina?
Yeah, just maybe one comment and one question. So I thought it was interesting that we also talked about cod, for example, where we know it's a relevant species for fisheries too, and at the moment it's in very bad condition. And I thought, I mean, we couldn't answer the question that you just asked, Mikolaj, but it's a question that we're also asking in HELCOM. You know, what would be the best indicator species? Do we want one that is commercially important? Do we want one that is extremely sensitive? Is it even possible to distinguish what is the noise stress that the species has and what is the fisheries stress and what is the climate change stress? So I think these are all things that we don't really have answers yet to, but that would be really interesting in the next years to have more research on. And then of course always the question, if you do something in the lab, what does it mean for nature? And it's really difficult to do these tests with the fish in nature, and so I thought it was quite interesting. And we also heard some in one of the talks some examples on how some of these fish really communicate with each other. So you had actually that what we always think of when we think of maybe the whales and the harbor porpoises and the mammals. Oh yeah, they talk to each other underwater. Well, the fish do too in many cases. And so I thought it was really very interesting, and still shows in the end many open questions, but for you guys in research, lots to do. And a question, I can't remember now if it was in your talk, Aliki, or what Andrea showed earlier, something about like 1,300 people looked at it on your website. So we have had so many people actually clicking on it on the website.
That was definitely on Andrea's presentation, so
Yeah.
I think she can. Yeah.
Yes, we have. Well, I had the information on my
Yeah, it was on your
presentation,
slide. Okay,
but Federica might be able to actually respond to that because she knows. I guess it's like clicks, yes, like visits on the website about that. So
Yeah,
that, I mean, it
pretty
was
amazing.
And that's also like we were quite surprised that there was so much interest in the webinar, like given that, of course, the fish topic is one of the least or the less looked at when it comes to underwater noise in comparison to marine mammals or other species. So I think it was really interesting to get so many people engaged into the topic. But I also wanted to mention that from the organizational side, it was kind of good timing. I don't know, like it felt like everything kind of fell into place because it was this impact workshop on the HELCOM side that actually that topic on the fish, like gaps on knowledge for fish, was one of the main issues. And then it's kind of followed by the webinar, which as Bettina mentioned, we could not really respond to many questions, and that was not either the aim, but just to like kind of raise awareness that this is an issue. And I think one of the lessons as well that we got from Matthias Sanderson was that we need to pay attention on to like when we, or for example, universities or research institutes, when they do this research in like certain species, how to put the results together so they actually make sense for changes in like policy or in like further levels, let's say. So how to make this research coherent. I thought that was a very good point as well, because then you are kind of, you know what you're aiming for in terms of changes. So I think that was really good. I wanted to add.
Okay. So any any further questions or comments? If not, then I will ask Wojciech to provide an overview of the activities and the results and lessons learned by activities undertaken by Foundation for the Development of Gdansk University. Okay. Please, Wojciech.
Okay, hello everyone. Do you hear me? And can you see my presentation?
Yes.
So I'd like to present our work package 4, talk about education materials and activities. Before I present the work package 4, I'd like to show you the result of small part of work package 3, where we was responsible for produce a leaflet. We prepared two type of leaflet about underwater noise. We produced the Polish and the English version. We printed 2,000 leaflet in Polish and 1,000 in English, and we distributed during our educational event and during mobile exhibition. The leaflet was also sent to our partners, so everybody could use it and print it. And we also present it on the Facebook, on the website of Helmeren Station and Foundation for the Development of the University of Gdansk. So this leaflet is everybody can download it and use it. The first activities in the work package 4 was mobile exhibition. We were obligated to present three exhibition in 3 places and 3 cities in Poland, but we have enough money and we could present it also in 2 other events. We produce 8 boards which present information about underwater noise, sources of this threat, type of noise, impact for on marine organisms, and the last board was about the project and the partners. We think that the exhibition could visit 4,000 visitors. And we start with the exhibition in Gdansk in June. Then we present it in Ustka in the middle coast of Poland in August, and also in Kołobrzeg city in September. But we also presented it on our Day of the Fish in Hell. This is our event, which we organize every year in Hell. This event visit 2,000 people, mainly a tourist from Poland. So we have a lot of people in this day, and we also presented exhibition in one of the school in the south part of the Poland in Bytom city, and we would like to present some information about underwater noise in the school to present this data and information to children and pupils. The next activities was educational event. We were obligated to realize 2 offline events, and we assessed that this event could visit almost 2,000 visitors. We start in Hell in June with our educational tent, where we distributed the leaflet, some brochure, information about underwater noise and impact on marine organisms. And the second event was in Ustka city. Yeah, and we was also responsible for final conference with CCB, where we have in our budget money for digital meetings and interpretation and translation. What about the challenges? So this educational event mainly showed that it's need rising awareness in the field of the educational about underwater noise and the impact on marine organisms. The people are not aware of the threat of underwater noise for marine ecosystem, and also the impact of recreational crafts is not enough understood by scientists. It's need to change it and research it. So I think our next, I hope, project will change it. Okay, thank you very much.
So thank you, Wojciech, for your presentation. We also can add some comments because I was also involved on the FRUG side. We also produced some recordings so the exhibition was combining the recordings from the Hell Harbor, fishery harbor, so people could scan the QR codes and actually listen with a sonogram to different vessels, like from the fishing boats to small yachts, how the noise propagates underwater. So it was, and we also, I think, presented some mechanism of the bubble curtain, how it works. You know, some simple experiment in the lab was also on one of the boards. Yes. So that's from my side. Are there any questions related to the activities undertaken by FRUG? Yes, Andrea?
Yes, and thank you. I think the pictures look great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the pictures look great. I just had a question, like if you had chance to interact with the people going there and like how much you noticed, like if they had already knowledge about this or like what were the comments from the people?
Yeah. So basically, I think in Poland, people were mostly surprised, like they was completely unaware that it poses any kind of a threat for the marine environment. So especially the good thing about, I think, our educational stance was that we usually brought the JBL speaker and the digital recorder combined with a hydrophone. So just people could hear firsthand. Sometimes when they came with a ferry, or they just got off from some sort of a boat, they could still listen to the engine underwater. That was in the real time. They could hear the sound of the engine and especially of the propeller. And it was, for some people, it was really shocking, you know, that it's so noisy underwater and that we standing on the harbor are unable to hear it, you know. So I think in Poland, if you look at the public awareness, we are basically, I think, right now we are in the moment where we try to make people aware of the problem, and the further steps would be to bring some mitigation measures. But it's still, I think, a lot of work ahead in raising public awareness, you know. I don't know how it is in other countries, but definitely that's the case in Poland. Okay, any further comments or questions?
Yeah, just it's the same here, I think. I mean, I think the awareness is as little everywhere as it is.
Yeah, I think awareness is crucial to make any further adjustments, you know, or take any actions. Okay, so now we can move to Latvian Institute of Aquatic Ecology, Andrea. Yes, the recreational boating in Latvia. Please, I'll take the floor.
Thank you. So, is the presentation in the presentation mode now? Yes, good. I just got a message that our internet connection is unstable, I guess due to the strong winds outside. So if I get frozen, then excuse me. Okay, but our main theme was also about awareness. And if underwater noise is not appearing in our everyday life, whether we can left it unnoticed. So Reinis and me were the workforce in this project, and it was a really good opportunity to start this topic to raise some awareness on it in Latvia. And yes, well, the environmental issue, as everywhere in the Baltic Sea, and as a member state of European Union, we are obliged to report in the Marine Strategy Framework Directive about it, and we almost have nothing to report. And because we have not investigated these challenges, and even, not only challenges, but even the basic knowledge is practically missing on underwater noise. Although the number of recreational crafts has grown considerably in Latvia, although we do not have archipelagos and interesting coastal areas or fjords and bays, but still. And maybe therefore our regulations are still tackling only inner waters. We do not have any speed regulations for vessels in the sea. And yes, the regulations are all about the speed of vessels because of safety, including also environmental safety, but underwater noise is not mentioned anywhere. Okay, so our task was to raise awareness, as I mentioned already, and for general public, and also as we had so little experience regarding underwater noise, and we had to cooperate also with project partners and parties. And our task was to work with local stakeholders, at first identifying them and then trying to get more in cooperation and improve also the cooperation between stakeholders themselves. And yes, of course, the focus of the project was on recreational boating in coastal areas, but we soon recognized that in Latvia, as I heard already, as everywhere, we have to concentrate on general awareness of stakeholders at first and public at second. So what we did was I grouped them as online or virtual practices and activities, and then offline ones. So we started with actually not survey, but mapping of potential national stakeholders. I think RAIN found more than 30 of potentially related institutions and bodies and boards. And then we selected quite a long list containing NGOs and national authorities, and yes, and also yacht clubs. And together with information campaign, what we carried, we started it almost a year ago, and then it was continued by webinar, and here the interest was quite high. We were really happy to see that it was about 50 participants, because as underwater noise is really not the first priority for people in Latvia. And yes, it was a good event, and we asked the participants afterwards whether they would be interested in having an also offline, like physical meeting and further involvement. And I remember at least 2 NGOs which responded positively. So we invited already a selected circle of stakeholders, about I guess more than 10, to national discussion workshops then. And where it was also planned to present a study on national regulations regarding underwater noise. So we had it recently, and the situation also was following that we announced it a month before, and it was coincident with another event related to marine issues, to marine environment assessment in the Ministry of Climate and Energetics, and we couldn't outplay the ministry. So I guess most of our participants who were registered went to that ministry event. Although ministry event was announced later than ours, but still, yeah, it was more important. And therefore we got a half of registered participants, but still we had a quite good representation from the institutions listed here. And yes, it wasn't large discussion group, but still we could capture the overall feeling and overall stance that we cannot make any decisions currently on underwater noise in Latvia because we simply do not have enough information. And yes, boats have been registered more, and as a representative from Latvian Maritime Administration told, the underwater noise in IMO is tackled in almost every meeting and then left because it's difficult, to decide upon it anything. So that was it. we had the presentations by Reinis and by me and by Professor Alexander Clausson from Tallinn University of Technology, and that was a really nice presentation, giving the picture of the whole Baltic Sea status and assessment efforts. So I hope our participants left having now more idea and information on the topic of underwater noise. So yes, our three main challenges is that it's still quite unknown topic, and so we had to devote our effort mostly towards general introduction on it, and therefore, if you do not have enough information, you cannot have kind of opinion, and discussion is not quite possible. And our earlier hopes on active NGO involvement and interest, didn't fulfill. So we didn't have a response from NGOs and boating sector to our offline event, and that was, that is not very fortunate. And yes, as I said, we do not have enough information yet, and this missing skills and capacities prevent also our building on next level discussion. So, and what we learned is of course, can be deducted from the challenges, is that we should use every opportunity on public education to talk about it. And we have at least 3 public events at the Institute, where Institute is involved in a year in Latvia. So we have the opportunities, and we have school visits at the Institute. So we can use those also to talk on that. And then the keeping the contact with stakeholders is very relevant, to have this follow-up and not letting them in peace, and letting them to forget that event has been, and what they have learned there. And yes, of course, we then the third lesson is that we should invest more also in our institute towards research, and we need to have not only more measurements, but more knowledge on work and interpretation of data. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Anda, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions related to the activities in Latvia? Yes, Andrea?
Yes, I was curious about the study on national regulation, and what were the main gaps or things that you found there, and did you see, I don't know if you also looked at other national regulations, or if there's any point of comparison with other countries. I was just interested in that part.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we have mostly inner water regulations on speed of boats and vessels, and therefore it was not quite possible to compare, because there's nothing on marine areas. And it's just Reinis did the study, and he discovered quite quickly that regarding national regulations, there is not much to say at all. Just a law on marine environment protection and management, and it's related to Marine Strategy Framework Directive. That's like implementing law, and but it just mentions that underwater noise is one of descriptors. Yeah, so
okay,
not very interesting.
But these speed limits, they were somehow you know, they stemmed from the fact that you know, it was related somehow to the disturbance of wildlife, or was it?
It's
about
mostly a
the
security of community, and yeah, it's in our waters. It's these regulations are issued by local municipalities, and they are like yeah, not to disturb other people or those who are swimming, or also a bit about coastal erosion and vegetation, and yeah, but not so much on wildlife, and not at all on
underwater
mammals, or
noise.
yeah, on underwater noise.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same case in Poland, that we the MSFD, within the MSFD, the descriptor underwater noise was very simple and very general.
Yes.
And no concrete data was provided. So it's
I
probably,
guess we translated the Helcom report on that.
yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have covered the first part of the meeting. So we have briefed on the activities in all the participants of the Red Noise Baltship project. So now we move to second part with our guest speakers, and it
Maybe
also,
I can just interrupt a bit, because I wanted to take a screenshot of us, just to make sure that I find you all before Bettina leaves us. So if you, Federica, can take the screenshot, that would be great. Just let us know.
Can you please remove your raised hand, Andrea?
Oh,
thanks.
Yes. Wait a second. Yeah, now. Well, I took one myself. So I think that's okay.
Can I just say one quick word, because
Yes.
I have to leave now? Just, yeah, thanks everyone. Sorry that I have to leave earlier. I hope we'll meet again in the next project. And just as an info, because you have that at the end today, I have a meeting with the Baltic Sea Foundation on Thursday to talk about possible co-funding for the quiet waters. So for those who are involved, just to let you know, I'll send you a quick note before I head off on holiday on Thursday about it. So yeah, and thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Oh, bye. Okay, we still have some time to proceed with the further part. We have like, was it at least 5 minutes, so we can make a short break and return at roughly 10 past. And then start with the second part with our guest speakers. Okay?